Hi, welcome to AI Trust Talks. I'm your host, Emma Johnson, and I'm excited to have you here. Artificial intelligence is changing the way we live, work, and connect, but with great power comes great responsibility. That's why this podcast exists, to deep dive into the critical conversations about AI safety, ethics, and responsible use. Every episode will explore the real-world challenges and opportunities AI brings, from helping business owners and corporate leaders make better decisions, to empowering data scientists to create responsible solutions, to guiding parents on how AI impacts their children's safety. This podcast is for anyone who cares about building a future we can all trust. So whether you're here to learn, debate, or just stay ahead of the curve, I invite you to join me on this journey as we shape the future of AI together. This is AI Trust Talks, where we build trust and technology, one conversation at a time. So I want us now to jump to AI's role in preventing child harm online. What are some of the ethical challenges you're coming across in using AI for child protection?
Ethics, I would say, Emma, you know yourself, in terms of how it's not always the priority number one for organizations or tech companies to consider because there's a lot of work to be done. And there's a
There are
lot
a
of
lot of grey areas as well.
exactly, and a lot of unknown. Like we have to understand the what is behind it, what's going to happen. So it's a lot of talking, brainstorming. So similarly, I would say when it comes to child protection, using ethics as your first steps, how to ensure that the child is safe. How do we ensure that the information we collect on the child it's used in a safe way and it's not being shared outside that circle, or also thinking about the dignity of the child. Sometimes through AI tools, we can use some tools that they can cause more harm or against their dignity when it comes to it.
Yeah. And just on that, I mean, we've recently seen situations in the public domain where, children have had their faces used to create or generate really terrible images around pornography and things like that. And it really can cause big issues. And on the assumption that the person that created that particular tool wasn't thinking that children could actually be exposed to that kind of situation when they just thought, oh, let's just have an image generation type tool. They never would have considered that. And really, companies do need to take accountability on building those guardrails.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I mean, even before the companies, think about the parents when you share image of your child or the children sharing their own images online. Do they know what can happen to that image? Having that basic conversation, where do we share an image and who do we share it with? What are the things? Because if children are unaware of what the AI is doing to that image of using the face and putting it into an inappropriate content, and using it in a place that it's not meant to be for the child friendly, then the children will be shocked because if you have that conversation with them, maybe their decision will be different.
Yeah.
If they, I mean, I would be the same. If I don't know the information, I might decide differently to when I know everything, the full story, the full picture. So knowing what can happen to an image or information you share through AI, what are the things that AI can do, which is mind blowing. I mean, it's shocking. But some parents don't know, some caregivers don't know, and the children themselves they don't know. So how do we ensure that? Is again talking and having an open conversation. But without learning and being aware and having that digital literacy on AI, how do we do that? It's impossible.
You raise a really good point, and I want to touch on this a bit more because I know you and I have had multiple conversations around content that parents put online about children and not appreciating if you take a cute photo of your child sitting in the bath, posting that on social media, and not actually realizing where that ends up. Do you want to kind of just touch on the point around AI aside, the online protection or posting of children and their photos and the rights that we should give our own children while they're young cannot make decisions for themselves? What advice do you give parents on that?
Going back to the conversation of what parents and caregivers or education platform are sharing on their children, sometimes it's like you have to stop and think what is going to happen after you post that image. What is the things that will be taken out of that image in terms of data, information, to attract you to through your decision making, through your purchases online. There's so many things when it comes to marketing and those tech companies, how they use an image. It's not necessarily using the image and sharing it, oversharing it, but it's about they target the children through the information you share. So they would know how old your child is. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? What do they like to do? So these are the things in terms of marketing. But you need to understand that when you share an image, it's not yours anymore. There are a lot of influencers out there now, and there is the children are being used in terms of content creation. But does the children know, do they have a consent on that? I mean, sometimes I see children 2, 3 years old being in through the platforms, through the influencing platforms, where they are there every day. And I'm not saying don't do that. Of course I will never do that, but it's about understanding what can cause to your child's well-being in the future. And sometimes children themselves they are influencers. I met a boy the other day. He's 5 years old. He was showing me how much followers he has, and he was so excited on his TikTok. I could not believe what I heard from him. He said, I have so many friends. Look at that. I have 20,000 people following a 5 year old. And for me, this is like this is misusing the power of social media, misusing the power of AI, misusing the power of online presence. Children needs to be aware by putting them out, putting themselves out there. What is going to happen, and using the image of a child through AI tools where they create different inappropriate content, it can harm the children not knowing. So having an open conversation, talking about the transparency and ensuring that the children are aware of what can go wrong and the risks that is bringing along these platforms is key.
We know the world is not perfect and there are bad actors out there. And the call to action here for parents is to understand the type of data you're putting out there online for your children. It's one thing to say this is a beautiful picture in a bath. It's another thing to not understand that that picture of a naked child will lead to inappropriate content. And that is a real world situation that's happening. And it's beautiful that you post the date of birth of your child online and this is the exact time and date that it was born.
Mm.
And that's really great for your family and your close friends to know that information. But having public profiles and using it in situations for influencing, etc., is think about the consequences.
Yes, exactly.
What do you
Yes.
need your date of birth for? A lot of government documents. What do you need your date of birth for? Bank accounts. Think about the credit risk rating that could be detrimental to a child because someone could access their bank account because so many years ago their parents announced their own date of birth, right? Or information that could lead to passwords or information that could lead to keywords used for things like accessing bank accounts. It really is worrisome about the amount of content. Bringing AI into the story right now is has just accentuated this when we knew there was concerns with online safety. And now with large language models, with a lot of data scraping that's happened off the internet, the ship sailed. And parents are behind the game. Parents, caregivers, anybody that has children in their care needs to understand that's already gone. That's past. These
Yes.
large language models have been built.
Yes, and what's sad to look into is that by the time the child is 18 years old, they already have a full package on data collected on these children. It could be through when they were born, of what was posted by the parents, and later in life when they start posting. So, I mean, if that child decided 18 that did not want to be online, did not want to have an online profile, it's too late. They were not part of the decision. So this is when it goes back to participation. Child participation is important at every level. I mean, people say, "But how can I explain this to my daughter? I'm going to post a picture." They understand everything. Children get the information. You just have to use child-friendly way to communicate the message. So if you are aware of the risk, the child will be also aware of it. I can give you a few examples as well when children start being the champions in telling other children about what's safe and unsafe. But again, we should not assume the world is safe. Unfortunately, that's not what it is. There are some people out there who are planning in how to groom children. As AI advances, as technology advances, those people are also advancing to break the safety of those AI tools to ensure that they get into your children without you being aware.
Talking about this and the accountability and organizations that are developing this types of technology, which is targeting children. I mean, I'm still quite shocked that you've told me a 5-year-old A has access to TikTok,
Yes.
is proactively using it, and has 20,000 followers. I mean, I assume that the parents are kind of overseeing that content, but what are 20,000 people doing? Or who are those 20,000 people that are following a 5-year-old? And what kind of content can a 5-year-old generate that would attract 20,000 people? Because not all those
Yeah.
people will have the right intent.
Some parents are proud that their children are online. They are proud to show how many followers they have. So for me, this is unacceptable. Do you know exactly what's happening to the content of the children being shared? Who are these people? Who are the people who are liking and commenting on the child's post? Are they really trusted adults? Are they really people who care about your child? How would we know now that? We wouldn't. We wouldn't know this information. So being proud of your child, 5 years old, posting online with your permission, for me, it's a scary thing. It's unacceptable.
It is, and a really, really important message around parents taking accountability for and carers taking
Yes.
accountability for that. So, how do companies ensure AI doesn't unintentionally expose children to risks?
We saw in some countries now they raised the age to 16 years old, and this I was so happy. I was over like the moon when I saw that. And people say, "Why, Mariam? But it's good for the children to be online. They connect, they learn." But I would say, do they learn about humanity? Do they learn about empathy? Do they learn about connectivity with the face-to-face interaction? Are we losing humanity because of AI? So, what I would say to the AI developers, when you are putting systems out there, think about it. We're not trying to remove humanity. We're trying to use AI to advance how we live, to help us live better with technology because it can help, and we have seen that. So think about what are the information that we want the children to learn or to get through the educational platforms. We need to ensure that children are not replacing the human interaction with AI tools interactions.
Technology that is there just to play games, like things like Nintendo, things like that, are not educating children on soft skills or real core human skills they
Yes,
need to know.
exactly. Yes.
And when you look at the development stages of a child versus where AI or technology is being introduced in their childhood is a really, really key part. S-
So I would say the social skills are going to be missing, from the future generation if we don't take action now. We need to ensure that by having AI tools and getting too excited about AI, also thinking about the basics, the social skills that we need to all have, the empathy, the understanding, the caring. These things are not in AI. And also the critical thinking. Having children to think for themselves what is safe and what is unsafe, it's priority number one. And I wouldn't say they are education platforms are doing that. Critical thinking always comes at the end, but we need to have it in the beginning. We need to have it at the first item in the agenda, because if we equip children themselves to think critically of what is safe and unsafe for them and how to safeguard themselves, we are way ahead of the game.
Do you think AI can predict and prevent abuse before it happens? And if so, how?
Yes, so there are tools out there where the chats are being monitored, the exchange of information are being monitored, where they can flag and say, okay, this is what's happening. So if somebody, for example, is grooming your child and trying to get them to do things, so the messages or the exchange of questions and asks are being monitored. So the information can be then flagged and shared to the parents or to the education platform saying that this message has been exchanged and let's look into it into more details. But you have to have that system in place in order to for it to work for you. Otherwise, if you don't have it, then we wouldn't know. So similarly to the examples you shared about the US child, where he was having a relationship with an AI chatbot. So the platform is there, children are using it, but is it being monitored of what types of communication is being exchanged with the children? This is the question to ask because we could have prevented that from happening. We could have ensured that this child doesn't go through that, and who is responsible? They would say, some people will say it's tech companies, some people will say it's the parents. I would say it's everyone. Like if the mother or the parents knew of what types of information or things can go wrong using these platforms, then at least the child would have the knowledge and the awareness that these relationships are not real. These relationships are not real, and we cannot connect with a chatbot, which actually is crazy because when you have a conversation with a chatbot as a child, you are not there to make the right decision making. In
Yeah.
terms of the brain development, they are not there yet. They say up until 20 years, 21 years, this is when your brain is fully developed in terms of decision making. So imagine, how do we expect children to stay safe when they build a relationship with a chatbot?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Mm.
Because yeah, it's sad. It's sad what happened to that child, and he's not the only one.
Yeah.
He's not the only one. There's many
This one
children.
just the other day.
Yeah, there's many, and now the AI companies are advertising that use AI to have friends, to have a therapist. How can you have a therapist, an AI therapist? I mean, who's accountable?
You're right. Accountability is a really, really
Yeah, for
common
me,
AI.
accountable is my favorite word. When I come to anything, when I want to work on safeguarding, I say, who is accountable? Who is going to hold these people accountable? If there is no accountability measures, then I would say that system is a failure. So I would say when it comes to any AI or any technology, tech company out there, before you start thinking about the children, how to attract children to use those tools and to sign up to your social media, think about the accountability first. Without accountability, I would say a platform or an AI tool or any system is a failure. We need to ensure that accountability comes in the early conversation, not at the end.
Very, very important point to share to those organizations that are building these kind of technologies. Anthropomorphism is a really big risk emerging, especially with chatbots specifically. I mean, it's hard enough to educate adults on what anthropomorphism is and the risks associated with it, let alone a child. And that unfortunate situation with the child would have fallen into that trap of thinking that this was a real human giving him advice. What should parents know about AI powered tools, specifically for content moderation and child safety?
I would say start taking basic AI courses. There's a lot of AI courses there, free of charge, where you can learn about the basics. What does it mean? I mean, don't be scared just because it's a new tool. Don't be scared because you hear about the risks and what can happen if you start using it. But it starts educating yourself towards what is AI. Then have a conversation with your children depending on their age limit, which age they are, use the friendly language to explain that this is AI, these are the things that can benefit you, and these are the things that can go wrong if you are not being safeguarded or protected or not understanding the risks, which is really important when it comes to using any platform.
That's good advice. And If you could leave parents with one advice or one piece of advice about AI and child protection, what would it be?
I would say start working on your bonding with your child. This is my advice. It's maybe
So key.
it's not AI related, it's not technology. Start focusing on bonding. What does it mean your relationship with your child? Having that connection starts early in life. If you leave it too late, you will lose it. So walk the walk. Don't just do the talk because sometimes we tell children how to do things and we are not doing it ourselves. So have that bonding, have that time with your children to be able to break the barriers of silence because things start going wrong when children don't talk to you. Children are online, they are using platforms, they are on social media, they are using video gaming, but if they don't have that confidence or the openness to come to you as a parent, to talk to you, to tell you what things are going with them, then you are failing this relationship.
That's such incredible advice for anybody looking after children, caregivers or parents, is just that bond and connection that needs to start from a young age. So, Maria, we've been talking about understanding AI and how to protect children in the world of AI. And also, we've covered off AI's role in preventing child harm online. Now, I want us to kind of really dig deep into the parental guidance and what practical advice can we give parents when it comes to protecting their children in the age of AI. So, what key risks should parents be aware of when it comes to AI and children?
Okay. It's a good question, but it's a tricky one because it takes a lot of effort for parents. So read the terms and conditions of every app that your child is using. They just ensure that what is it that's happening behind the scene. So sometimes we see an app or we see a platform, we think it's safe, it's okay because it's being used by many people, everybody's talking about it. But don't make the assumption that this is a safe platform until you check what goes behind it. What is the contact that the children are having? Is it being monitored? Is it being protected, the information shared? Who else is having access to these platforms? So start thinking about the little details of the platforms or the presence of your children online. Don't assume just because the majority are using it, it's safe.
Don't just fall for the hype,
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
do
Yes.
some more
Yeah,
research.
yes. And it's easier, it's easier just to follow. But I would say just stop and think, it's even as adults, what types of information are we sharing? What types of platform we are using? It's so important to understand what happens after that. And as I said again earlier, like with tech companies, sometimes they don't do it intentionally to harm your child. It can be that they didn't use child center tools to ensure that this platform is safe for the children. So then it becomes an unintentional harm without them even thinking about it.
Yeah. And how can parents proactively educate themselves and their children about AI safety?
So it goes back again to that conversation of having an open conversation. We shouldn't just talk about things when they go wrong. Just educate yourself out there what's happening around you, what types of information and examples you can share to your children depending on their age. That have you heard about what happened here with that child because they didn't consider thinking about the safety, not again scaring, not again just creating fear, but having the right knowledge in equipping your child to be their own champion. That's very important. We cannot be with the children all the time 24 hours. We cannot. So, how do we do that? Is by creating that knowledge within your communication, within your bonding, and creating that transparency relationship that you can have with your child. That's going to be the best step to start with.
That's really, really good advice. Are there any recommended AI tools that parents can use to protect their children online?
Yes, so you can use the Microsoft DNA that I mentioned, or the Google AI tools that they use for prevention of child abuse and making sure that they are flagging the inappropriate content that it's going on. There are few tools, but I would say these two would be good. And also there is the SafeNet. So there is the Child Rescue Coalition, the CRC technology, where parents can have access to it. They can read more about it to understand how to use those tools to protect and safeguard their children.
This is really good insight. So I didn't know there was a website that evaluated these kind of tools and gave their advice to parents.
Yes, so there are some guidelines out there, and the UNICEF also guidelines, and there's a Google tool and Microsoft as well, where they can look into it and how to, depending on the platform they're using, but they can look into how to use those tools to protect and safeguard their children through different platforms that they are using.
Yeah. I know that a lot of the big tech companies, especially those that would have a presence in New Zealand, were called into our Prime Minister's office, the Beehive, and they were held accountable for online safety. So they have implemented a lot of online monitoring tools, which is great. And I'm sure they're working on tools to keep advancing child protection in the age of AI as well.
Again, I would say, even though we have seen of many examples where tech companies are coming forward and saying we will be using, AI tools to protect your children and safeguard your children, it's important to know, how did they come up to that decision? Is it because they were pushed to do it as a to-do list, as a role and responsibility because they were asked to do it? Or is it that really they understand the importance of having child at the center before deploying a tool or a platform? So those tech companies, they need to have child participation and have children and have a child rights understanding when they are brainstorming the systems or the platforms that they want to launch. That's the importance. We don't want to just push them to say, have a tick list, but rather them being the leader in promoting safeguarding and child protection for the children.
Have a genuine reason and impact to actually implement that tool. Agreed.
Exactly.
There's nothing worse than
Yes.
tick boxes.
Yes.
So, what steps can families and caregivers and parents take to balance the benefits of AI whilst minimizing the risks?
So I would say, question the use of AI tools in your daily life. Don't just get excited. Going back to that original excitement that I said, sometimes we get too excited and we want children to use AI tools. And not just the parents, there's a lot of schools now that they are just leaving behind everything that we were doing for all these years, for generations, and only using AI tools for education. Just question these things. Is that the right tool? Is that the right way to educate children? Are we going to miss out on certain things in life for educating our children? Or are we going to just to become zombies and too much dependency on these AI tools? So I would say, don't go with the majority again, but understand the benefits and at which age we need those benefits for the children and what are the risks that comes with it. So if we study well why we are taking those decisions, the pros and cons, it's better than just getting to go with it and start using it for the children.
It's such an interesting point you raise. So, does this tool align with your family values? Is it going to positively impact your family by using tools like this? Some people find benefits in TikTok. Maybe they earn an income from that. Great. But how is that impacting your children? And what are the positive and negative consequences of you as a family using technology like that? How can parents advocate for stronger AI policies that really prioritize child protection, especially when we think about schools starting to introduce AI systems? How should parents really start looking at what the schools are rolling out as well as general tooling that they have available?
I would say, don't be afraid to ask questions. This is very important. Just because the school is launching an AI tool or a way of education, a system for education, it doesn't mean it's always 100%. You have to be able, as a parent, to ask questions. What is the impact? How much of that their time will be spent on AI tools? It's important. We don't want to lose some of the social skills. We don't want to lose the way that things were working for us. But we want to use AI to help us advance, to be better. So not even in the through the school. Sometimes children go to different activities after schools or different clubs through the schools, and they have AI tools. They have systems that they use. So try to understand: do they understand the risks? Those platforms or those organizations. If they don't know the risks, then most likely your child is at risk. And this is the thing, people say, well, so which kind of question do we ask? Just ask, what do they understand? What is the risk behind it? What is their safeguarding frameworks behind it? Not just for AI, for anything. How do they safeguard children through this entity? If they don't have that, it means they never thought about the safety of your child from the child protection perspective.
You're right. And just asking that simple question, what are the risks that we as parents or caregivers should actually be thinking about? And if the person that's talking to you about that particular product, whether it be in the education system or another scenario, if they can't tell you what the risks are and what they're doing to mitigate it, then you're right. They haven't thought about the risks. And that is a red flag in itself.
Exactly. So that's the basic. It's a basic advice I would give. Be confident. Be able to open the conversation. It doesn't mean you will be questioning how they do things, but it's just making sure that your child in a safe is in a safe place. It's not somewhere that. And again, I mean, I need to emphasize this, that although having child protection and child safeguarding measures in place, it doesn't mean the child is safe 100%. It just means we understand the risks and we know how to mitigate them. We cannot protect and safeguard children 100%. But by understanding what we can do if things go wrong, it means we are well prepared. And preparedness is always key to success in ensuring that any frameworks, any legislation, any policy, it's implemented in a way that we are aware of what's coming next.
Or what could happen.
And exactly.
What is the immediate action plan if something does happen and how to kind of correct it in a short time frame?
In a shorter time frame, yes.
So, what is one urgent call to action every parent should take today to ensure their child's safety in the age of AI?
Don't just ask children what did you do in school, where did you go today, who did you speak to, who did you meet. Ask these questions also on their online presence. Understand what goes in the online world with your children. What types of apps are they using? There's always excitement. Children, they share the games, the new games out there. Oh, you need to be downloading this game. You need to be using this platform. Have a conversation with your child to understand, to be up to date. Being up to date with your child is the hardest thing ever these days because they are too fast. They're going too fast. And parents sometimes they say, oh, we are busy at work. We have so many other things to think about. This can wait. I would say no. This cannot wait because if we don't know their engagement online, the risks is there and things can go wrong if we are not prepared, unfortunately.
This is great advice. And it goes back to the point around bonding and connection with your children. It doesn't just happen at a young age, it is an ongoing requirement as a parent or caregiver to keep that bond and connection going.
What's important is to think about ourselves. Think about where we are. What do we understand about these risks? What do we understand about the benefits? And how do we want to protect ourselves? Because by protecting your child, you are protecting yourself. And knowing how to protect children is not something that comes easy because things are evolving, things are changing. And it's not just about saying trusted adult only, strangers, dangers, these are the basic level. But we need to go beyond that. We need to be prepared ahead of the game because we don't know what's coming. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty, and we want to make sure that children today are well equipped socially and tech wise because they will be the future adults. It's going to impact everyone, not just themselves. They will be impacting us when we are older.
Very, very good advice. And for us as adults today, we must take the right measures to protect future generations, build things right for us now so the future generations don't have to consider the risks or might not be going through the same level of risks that we are today.
Definitely, yes, and having children lead for themselves, they get too excited. I work with through our projects, we work with children, youth communities as well, where once you share the information and you teach children how to protect themselves, they get so excited. They start telling everybody. So why not use the children themselves to pioneer for the safety online and face to face? And that's the best way of doing it. Instead of an adult telling a child, the child telling a child, they will be the champions for themselves.
That goes back to the point around representation. you always want representation or the right people sitting at the table. And when we talk about diversity and inclusion as well, is yeah, if a child is telling a child some information, they probably listen or might absorb that information better than if an adult is just communicating with a child on a particular topic. So I really like that. And it just always goes back to the need for representation and diversity sitting at the table when you are building AI systems. Have the children there with you, but also have the children equipped and knowledgeable to be able to keep sharing with their own community and their own children in the playground at school themselves.
Yes, precisely. And also, I mean, we need to also understand that, the UNICEF, there was a research that recently they launched, more than 1.5 billion people don't have access to technology. So we should not forget about that side of the story as well. So although we are here talking about AI and how to understand the benefits and the risk, there are some children that they are not aware or not do not have access to these AI educational platforms or AI social media platforms. So we need to have our children understand that this is not the whole story. There is more to that. And we need to prepare them that how to communicate with those children who don't have access to technology. We cannot assume that everybody is on the same road. We need to acknowledge that children of today, they need to be able to use different methods to communicate with other children or to be engaging with others other than technology and AI tools.
Thank you for bringing it down to earth a bit and bringing in that balancing act of don't fall for the hype and the pressure to be on these platforms because there is a lot of people that don't have access to them and they still progress forward in their lives. But excluding them from the entire picture also adds an element of risks in our own children and the way they can interact, as you've just said.
So I can give you an example of a recent scenario where an organization's systems were hacked. And when I was speaking to the people working there, they said, we haven't used the pencil or the pen for the past 20 years. So the whole system was failing because people did not know how to do things, their daily things that they've been doing for years without the use of technology. For me, this is very scary. So do we want children, because the children of today will only know AI and technology, and they would not remember anything behind that. So this organization for me was a good example. I use it now. It was just 2 weeks ago where they didn't know how to function and everything was failing because they didn't remember anything else before the use of technology.
Wow, that's an incredible end. Mariam, thank you so much for joining me here today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about the impact of AI on children, both positive and negative, the call to action from parents or for parents. And I'm sure you've given them some brilliant insights to help us collectively support the future generations and really build a world that we all want and need to see.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you for having me. And I hope I didn't scare parents. It was more about being aware of what are the risks and what are the benefits. We need that. We can't just go forward without knowing the two sides of the story. Thank you for having me.
That's it for today's episode of AI Trust Talks. I hope this conversation has sparked new insights and empowered you to think critically about the role of AI in our lives. Together, we have the power to shape the future where technology serves humanity responsibly and ethically. If you have found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join the conversation. Your voice matters in building a trusted AI future. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and let's keep building trust in technology, one conversation at a time.